This, it's on. Woo! Somebody needs to do some shaving. Sidearm videos. Let's watch them. All right, guys, what's up? We're gonna work on some sidearms, but we're gonna break it down into multiple videos. There's just way too much to cover and shove it all into one video. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. What I want to do is I want to take one thing out of the sidearm and we'll talk about it. We're gonna break it down as much as I can. That way you can work on it for a week, and then next week we'll go on to the next part. So, without further ado, the first part of the sidearm that we're gonna talk about is off-axis torque and your release angles to help prevent that. All right, so off-axis torque. What in the world is it? Well, to break it down as simply as I can without boring you, is when the disc comes out of your hand, if it's doing this, if it's a wobbly disc, you're generating some off-axis torque on your disc. How are you generating that off-axis torque? Well, the most common thing is when you let go of your sidearm, and this could go for your backhand too, the wrist is rolling. It could be just ever so slight. At the last second, you're just rolling it, or it could be a lot. But what happens is when you put on that little bit of wrist roll, the disc gets really wobbly, and it turns something really overstable like this Lucidex Felon, makes it seem understable until all the wobble's gone, and then it comes flat and becomes a Felon again. This is where you'll see your some of your guys, how I put it nicely, saying that discs like this are unstable or not stable enough for them. This is the reason why they have a lot of off-axis torque. And yes, there's not a disc in the world that's produced that was going to be stable enough if your disc is coming out like this. It's just not. It's always going to have an unstable flight to it. It can't fly. It cannot. So how are we going to prevent off-axis torque? Well, we're not going to get rid of it 100%. It's always somewhat going to be there. Even the best players in the world, you'll see sometimes it'll come out with a little bit. But what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to eliminate as much as possible. What we're going to focus on is your palm. Your palm is what we're going to focus on. And it is so bright right now. Hey, there we are. The palm is going to control your angle. If at the last second you're lining up that sidearm, and what most commonly happens is you're going to line up your sidearm, you're going to go to throw, and then you're going to go get some more on it. Or you're going to have a baseball background, a football background. Any kind of throwing motion usually requires, you're finishing over the top of it. Disc golf, you have to keep it down. You have to keep the palm up. The palm up as long as you possibly can. What I like to tell people is pretend there's a cup of coffee. Nice, fresh, hot cup of McDonald's coffee hanging out on that hand. You do not want to pour that cup of coffee on you. No, no, no. So what we have to do is we have to keep that palm as flat as possible. And in doing so, what I've found is with my grip, and you can take a look at the grip, these two fingers help me the most, because when I have my palm out, I can feel with these two fingers how I'm controlling the disc. With those two fingers, there's also one more key component to the grip that not a lot of people talk about, but I see just about everybody getting wrong. And most people, when you look at the grip, everything looks fine here, doesn't it? Would you agree? Everything looks good? But if you look closer, what you'll see is there's room right here. What you want to do is get this rim in there. Now we are locked in. Can you see how locked in we are there? That is in there and not going nowhere. You'll feel you kind of feel that? Well, you can't feel that. I can feel that. You can hear it though. That is super key. What happens is most people will keep the grip out there on their fingers, and they'll have this gap right here. And so when you go to sidearm, I mean, look how that disc is just doing its own thing. There is no way you're going to control consistently that angle. It's just always going to just kind of hang out. So getting it in there and jamming it, like literally just locking it in there all the way, is what's going to help you make the disc feel more secure. On your backhand, you're not going to just hold the disc like this and throw it, right? You're not going to hold it way out here on your fingertips and try to throw it. you're gonna get that disc in that palm and you're gonna grab a hold of it, right? Same thing in a sidearm. You gotta make sure that it's all the way locked in, fingers locked in, boom. Now you have complete control of the grip. All right, so we talked about palm. We talked about getting the disc in our hand. That way we can feel it using these outer two fingers to actually help control the angle of release. I touched on it just a moment ago, but I want to go a little bit deeper into it. And that is at that last second, creating that off-axis torque. That last second, what happens is you really want to throw it hard. And that shoulder comes up, or the elbow comes up. And you're just there. You know, you're just trying to throw it really hard. You gotta trust bringing it in where your shoulder's tight. It doesn't have to be locked into your body. It can be out here a little bit, but it has to get in tight. And if you look at my disc, every time. As long as I get that elbow back, see that disc? It's always on a hyzer angle. If I keep that elbow out, who knows where it's going, right? We're way out here. If I drop in too low, you know, it's bad, okay? Follow me here. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but if you get that elbow in tight, it's gonna keep it flatter, and it's gonna help you with a more consistent release. I'm not saying you have to keep the elbow tight in all the time. If you watch some of these throws, I let my elbow out, especially if I'm throwing hard. The disc will actually come up here. That's another video. We'll go into getting more distance on next week's. But no matter what happens, my elbow's coming in and my palm's staying flat, and I'm following through. Follow through with your wrist. So you don't want to have your wrist stiff like this the whole time, right? You're not going to throw it like this. What you are going to do is you're going to break your wrist and you're going to pop it. Just pop it. This is especially good, especially English is hard, but it is particularly good when you're throwing approach shots, because you don't have to get a big old arm whip going. You can control it with a little snap of your wrist. So we covered, the kids are having fun in the park behind me. We covered getting the disc into your hand. We covered keeping your palm up. Keeping your palm up with the help of these guys out here. These guys out here are really gonna help you out in guiding it. It does for me. I put them in, you know, they're leaning against it and they help me feel where the disc is in my hand. And then getting the elbow to come in. These three things are gonna really, really cut down on that off-axis torque. It's not going to completely eliminate it. It's going to happen. Everybody's going to have it from time to time, but it's really going to help cut down. You should see a lot less of the weeble wobble wobble throwers. You see a lot less of those. What I hope is when you go out to the field and try this yourself, is you go out, you throw it, and it actually just stays on hyzer and doesn't go as far as you're used to. That's actually what I hope happens, because I would rather see it not go as far as it used to and stay on a hyzer the whole way than being a wobbly mess and who knows where it's going to roll. If we can get that light bulb on and have that disc come out on that hyzer and just stay on hyzer the whole way, then next week we can talk about stability, picking the right angles for your disc, and, you know, get a little bit more distance overall. All right, guys, if you found those tips helpful, give this video a thumbs up. Think about hitting that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. Ring the little bell. If you ring the bell, you will get notified when I post a video. For some reason, YouTube, even if you're not subscribed, it'll still suggest the videos once in a while, but subscribing to the channel costs nothing, and it helps me see what videos gain more traction, etc., etc. You don't want to bore you with analytics. But anyways, so next video, we're going to be looking at a little bit more distance. Like I said, what I want you guys to focus on and take away from this video is if you have the wobble, I want to see you go out to the field for this week. You need a solid week. You're not going to go out there and do it in 10 minutes. It's going to be fixed. Take the week. Go out to the field, go out to your local course, and just, you know, if it's a backhand hole, throw a sidearm anyway. Every second shot, throw a sidearm just to practice it if you don't want to go to a field, okay? What I want to see is less wobble, and ideally, I want to just see it come out on a hyzer and go out. Now, it might not get as much distance as you're used to, but I just want to see it come out a little more hyzer, a little less wobble, and always coming out on a hyzer. If you can do that, by the time next week come around, we'll talk about getting more distance. So I'll see you guys next week. as always, be dynamic, be better than yesterday, and we will break through. Later, guys.